Good day, everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day. I'm having a good day myself. So today we are going to talk about Putin's declaration of partial mobilizations and the referendums that are going to happen in Zaporizhia, Donbass, Luhansk, Donetsk, and Kherson. Kherson is not on the list, but though in the future, there are plans to do a referendum. So Putin has decided to call up partial mobilization. That means that he'll call a reserve of about 300,000 soldiers, the ones who are reserved, out of 2.5 million reserves. So he'll call 300,000 reserves, and the 300,000 reserves, will be, some of them are a bit trusty, so they'll be brought up to date with the events and what they are doing. The reports I'm seeing is that, these 300 reserves, not all of them will play any military role in this upgrade of the current war, because the report I'm getting is that the 300 reserves, some of them will not even see the battle. Some of them will not even go to war, because some will come in as drivers, as engineers, as tacticians, as medics. So when they say the 300 reserves, they don't mean that there'll be 300,000 people on the battle. But why has the Kremlin decided to make this decision? First of all, you must remember that the Kremlin feels that the war in Ukraine now it has totally become a war between NATO and Russia. The Ukrainian army, as according to Russian reports, half of it has been destroyed. So why is the Ukrainian army still active? The Kremlin feels now that the war has become between NATO and Russia, where now NATO commanders, NATO money, NATO resources, NATO ammunition are continuing to pump up the war. NATO intelligence, trying to tell the Ukrainians where to go. So to the Kremlin, they interpret this as not a war anymore between Ukraine, as now a war between NATO, because NATO is heavily invested now in this war. This has come at the backdrop of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that was held a few days ago. And I feel that this organization, the fact that these people met, brought some shivers into, the Western side. And I feel like Putin also engaged the players, who are present, President Xi, Iranian, President, Modi, Prime Minister, Turkish President, about the events that are happening in Turkey and what is planning on way forward. Because as we all know, President Erdogan of Turkey came out saying that Russia is planning to finalize the war soon. So it means that Putin tried to give them a heads up, probably explain to them. He didn't need the approval, but since it was a very important meeting, and we can't deny that the war in Ukraine has affected global prices, the geopolitics. So I think he couldn't have gone to this meeting, especially since it is an intelligence. The organization is a security intelligence organization. So without laying what's happening in Ukraine, and immediately went back to the Kremlin. The announcement, he was supposed to make an announcement yesterday, but he pushed it to today. And today he has decided to mobilize the 300,000 reserves into his army. And now this changes the game plan drastically, because we must remember that the war entered as a special military operation, and the special military operation occurred on the basis that the republics of Donbass, Donetsk, Kherson, Luhansk, all of them had signed an agreement with Russia, for Russia to, a military agreement that Russia will try and supply, and also, protect them, not fully militarily, but, through intelligence, because you must understand that this war between the Ukrainian military has been fighting over, militias of the Donbass or these regions, the Chechen militia. The Russian army hasn't been fully engaged in this war. And reports were showing that from yesterday, Russia is connected to the eastern Ukraine through a lot of a railway network. That's why it was supposed to easy. That was why it was easy for Russia to bring the military equipment when the war started in February, and all these resources. So yesterday, reports were saying that the railway network in Russia is very hot. It's very active. It's bringing a lot of equipment. So, and today Putin announces that. He's called 300,000 people from the reserve. It just shows you that they've been preparing. So the military agreement between these republics and Russia was that Russia will try and support them because they are Russian-speaking countries, but it wasn't a full treaty, like a treaty where Russia will now intervene. But now because of the referendum, this now this is where I'm coming. The referendum is now the ice in the cake. This republic will go for a referendum on Friday. The referendum will take 5 days, and the interesting thing is that a place like Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donbass, and in Luhansk, these places are going to vote via mail and electronic. And the funny thing is that there's not that good internet. Even the mail services is not that good. And another thing is that some of the regions are not fully in Russian control. So they've said that the only people who will vote, are where the Russian military controls. And this election looks to go to Russia's favor. These republics will vote in Russia's favor. Let's not forget that Ukraine is a civil war. It's a civil war. It's divided into two parts. The western parts of Ukraine speaks Ukrainian language, and the eastern part mostly speaks Russia or are Russians. So it's highly likely that the eastern part, because it's Russian, will go to the Russian side. And this changes the game plan because now Russia won't be having the treaty. The existing treaty will be null and void because now these republics will be incorporated into the Russian Federation. So it means if the Ukrainian army attacks these republics, it won't be attacking republics anymore. It will be attacking the Russian Federation. And this now will bring out the full force of Moscow, the full force of the army. And that's why you can see that Putin is now trying to prepare to that step. He's trying to change the game. Because remember, because of the special military operation, it means that Putin was operating on, he was operating on eggshells, because, a special military operation was not a full military. Remember, most of these militias were the one who were fighting the war. So they couldn't just go and take out infrastructure how they wanted. They couldn't go on an all-out war. They couldn't go using scorched earth policy. But now, since it's, since these republics will fall under the Russian Federation, it means even these militias, the Donbass, the militias in Donetsk, will fall under the Russian army. They will be now under the command of the Russian army. And if the Ukrainian army, tries to attack now, it will be seen as an attack on the Russian Federation. And this now will bring an out war. And that's why you can see that Sergei Shoigu, the defense minister of Russia, was trying to give an example that is this mobilization of reserve, they will now guide the 1,000 border kilometer. That means the border, these republics now, they'll be guarding it because now Russia will have acquired new territory. Because even though the referendum has not happened, there is likelihood that this republic will push to stay in the arms of Russia because now they'll feel protected under Moscow. And also there's another reason that why Putin has pushed for this. Remember, there's a lot of talk about nuclear from the NATO side that Putin may use nuclear. So Putin is trying to counter this by absorbing these republics and trying to protect them. And also remember that there's talk of also Ukraine acquiring long-range missiles that they may hit the territory of Russia. So Russia is trying to scramble and protect these republics. And now this changes the war because now Russia won't be, won't follow the normal international law when it comes to these kinds of special military operation. It will be an all-out war. And remember, America and NATO and the European Union have said they will not recognize These referendums, they are sham referendums. They've called them sham. Macron talked, he said they are sham. The America talked, he said they were sham. And they said they will not recognize. But remember, in international law, how do you recognize a state? First of all, a state has to have a permanent population. So these republics have a permanent population. The categories of a state has to have a government. These republics have been having some kind of government. That's number two. A state has to have a permanent territory. This Luhansk, Donetsk, all this region, you can, even if they're in Ukraine, you can see they are carved somehow. And number four, they need to enter treaties and and agreements with other country, and they're already doing that with Russia. So it doesn't really matter what what or what the Western countries think, because at the end of the day, you can look at the issue of Kosovo. Kosovo is recognized by the Western powers, but it's not recognized by Russia and some other countries. But it operates as a country. You can go to Taiwan. Taiwan is now going, like, it's now heading towards recognition by America, and you can see that even though it's not recognized by China, it's behaving like a country. So I think this is what Putin is applying under international law, and he's made it clear that the people are being called by reserves. Students in university, going, if you're going out about by your daily life, they don't need you, because out the reserve is 2.5. They just want 300,000 people, so they don't need you. So they are saying, students, normal working class people, just continue with your life. But this clearly changes the game plan. And don't forget, all this region is very rich in minerals. In fact, 70% of Ukrainian minerals come from that side: the coal, the rare earth metals, the oil, the gas. It comes from that side. And this now shows that the war, even though it's about, I don't know if it's about to end, but it's like a game over now, because we saw this game with Crimea. They took over Crimea, and they never gave it back. So even those talk of reclaiming now, I think, because now if these republics vote for a referendum to go to this side, it means that NATO, the Ukrainian army, will have to come with full force to reclaim this territory, and now that could explode to a full-out war. And we saw Putin warning countries not to try, because he also has nuclear weapons. He says he's ready to use them. Russian law allows Putin to use nuclear weapon even from a preemptive strike. And that's why you see even the North Koreans changed their law the other day to make sure that they protected themselves from a preemptive strike also. But it's very interesting to see how this war will go. But for me, I think going forward, I think it's not going to be very good for Ukraine. I think Ukraine is the biggest loser in this war. There's no winners in this war, if you ask me, because Ukraine has really, 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 really suffered. It has lost most of its territory. If we look back at how the war started, it was just Donbass. But now, almost all regions, the eastern part are being taken. You go to the Baltic Sea, Mariupol, all it's just it has become now more of a, there's no going back. The ship has sailed. There's no turning back the clock. And Putin is saying NATO has added pressure now. Putin has added pressure. Probably America is not going to add more pressure. So it seems that Ukraine is every day is falling behind, and it's very sad that the war has reached this point, because now even for Putin just to bring back his reserves, but it's nothing not common. America also brings, when they are at war, they're sending military all over the world. They also call upon their reserves. So it's not nothing new bringing reserves. But the major thing is that this is turning now from not a special military operation to now, to protecting the sovereign territory of Russia under the Russian military. So even those militias will become under the Russian military. So it won't be just fighting militia, no. It will be really fighting against the Russian military, and they have all the powers to use force to protect their own territory. if you look at international law now, because now this is Russian territory. So if anyone tries to invade, now they have all the reason, and all the, all the willpower in now to protect that territory fully. That's just now brings the drafted military personnel to this to 500,000. Remember, 200,000 were brought in special military operation to help these militias in terms of arms, tactics, to mobilize, to move around these republics to establish law and order. And don't forget, when the war started, there were parts of Donbass that even Russia had started putting, bringing its own currency. Russia had started even changing the school's calendar, the school system, bringing its own textbook, its own exercise book, its own currency, appointing its own mayor, its own governors, and its own political leaders around this town. So I feel this is just now the finalization of what Putin has been planning for a long time, and we'll just wait and see. But I don't think the good news will be coming out of Ukraine anytime soon, because now it has literally come out. This is a Russia-NATO war. No one is willing to back down. NATO sees this as the best chance to destroy Russia completely, and Russia sees this as their best chance, to gain global image as a superpower. As a country no one can mess with. And even the realignment in geopolitics, you can see that NATO is fighting for for the the normal global order, for how the global order, for how the NATO has been controlling the global order. It feels like there's a challenge, not specifically NATO, but the Western Alliance. It feels like there's a challenge now, the order that it has to them has brought tranquility, peace. They feel it's being challenged by Russia, and that's why they are hell bent on stopping Russia at all costs, because these actions of Russia are now even motivating countries like China, countries like Turkey to also think now they can challenge. There's that issue of Turkey and Greece. The world is becoming a bit hostile now. North Korea now says it's a nuclear armed state, so they want to stop Putin, so that they feel if we destroy Putin, it will send shivers to these other camps that support Putin, like Iran also. And Putin believes if I destroy NATO and stop NATO, then it will send shivers around the Western Alliance that is not that strong, And the aim of NATO and this European Union is to drain Putin of resources, cut him sanctions, engage him in a prolonged war so that he can lose his money. And and probably the people inside Russia will revolt and overthrow him. But it's something that I'll keep on watching closely and giving you guys information. Thank you for all those who've been supporting me, liking, sharing. Please subscribe, like, and share. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Cheers.